Hey guys, this is John and I'm playing Ansatsu in the 5-minute pool in ICC. Let's check Ansatsu's stats. I haven't played this player before. They have a peak 5-minute rating of 2416 and about 3,000 games played. We're opening with a solid knight f3. I just got off a terrible bullet session, so I need to keep it tight, you know? No opening experimentation. Just stick to the basics. Good thing to do when you're having a bad run of results. Okay, so we're just sitting here waiting for Ansatsu to make a move. This isn't going to make for a very entertaining video if we have to wait much longer. You never know what people are up to. If he comes back after like a minute and a half and offers an abort though, I'm kind of like torn about whether I would do that because it's like you just made the person wait for a minute and a half doing nothing. So I probably won't give it to them. And it is the pool. I mean, if you enter the pool, you got to be ready. Like as soon as you hit 5-minute, the 5 button, you got to be ready to go. Okay, so he finally plays a move. So we're going to have like a 1-minute time advantage. So that changes our strategy a little bit. We want to put pressure right from the get-go. So here we've kind of move ordered ourselves into, well, Semi-Slav now. Could have stuck with the QGD. Let's play this G3 variation. Giving up the pawn on C4 if they want it. We'll try to make it complicated. I think with the clock scenario, that might be the way to go. It's castle. Yeah. Now maybe knight d2 is interesting. This is a move that one particular player has played against me a lot in Bullet online. So queen b6 is the correct response. That guards b5 and c6. Otherwise, knight takes b5 could have been an issue. It also threatens this pawn. So probably e3 is the way to go. And I might end up playing it just like, you know, just for compensation. Maybe b3 to come. And just figure out what I want to do. Yeah, let's play b3. So we're going to be purely down a pawn on the queen side, but I hope to make it harder for him to like open the position up over there, like achieve c5 especially. If he takes, I can take with the pawn or the knight. I'll take with the knight. It seems more active. Maybe f4, f5 is an idea. Wow, he's going for a very early c5. I feel like I should punish that somehow, but... So if I take b7, he takes with the queen. I take c5. He takes with the knight. We trade. Maybe rook b1 at the end. Not sure I'm winning the pawn back, though. Probably not. d5 is another option. d5 might be the way to go. Yeah, let's do that. Looks more interesting at the very least. We've let him recoup a little bit of time. Guess we'll pre-move a capture. Let's pre-move knight takes. If b4, I can either move my knight, like knight a4, and gain a tempo on his queen, or take on e6. If he swaps everything on d5, I'll be hitting his rook in the corner. So I think he'll probably not take on d5. He'll probably play, yeah, something like that. e4 to open lines makes sense. He's very close to being able to just castle after moving this dark square bishop. What if I take and then play bishop b2? That might be a decent way to play. That way, if bishop e7, I can take, and if he takes with his bishop, I have knight takes c5, so I at least regain the pawn. Seems okay. I want to keep setting him problems. I mean, when you sack a pawn like this, you have to keep setting your opponent like minor problems. Attacks my queen, so queen e2 probably. Looks as good as any. Queen c2 was another option. Maybe c2 also had some merit just because this pawn would have been attacked a couple times. Well, at least now, like, my bishop will be bearing down on g7, so he can't, like, utilize that to his advantage. Okay, let's go here. Ooh, he might be trying to go knight g5, though. For that reason, I think I'll use this rook. Just so if knight g5, like, maybe I can go e4. All right, so we're fully coordinated now. Our knight is not doing much, but he's got to be feeling the heat with his king still in the center and the g7 pawn hanging if he moves the dark square bishop. Okay, so against that, I was thinking e4 might be the way to go. We just double check. But yeah, let's do it. If queen takes, I can take on b5 with check. He was threatening mate in 2. Knight h3, king f1, queen h1 mate. So we sidestep that. He can maybe put the knight on e6. That's a decent square because it controls g7. So he can hope to free up his bishop and castle. Maybe I'll play knight e6, f4 if he plays that way. Just try to quickly play f5. Again, we want to set him mini problems. It's getting lower on time now. Let's play that. Kind of want to keep going, f5. Let's do it. He's got 1:30 left. It's not a lot of time. Problem is he'll be up a boatload of pawns if we continue at this pace. All right, so if I trade knights, he takes with check, king g2, let's say castles. Queen g4, he has f6 at the end of that line. If I move my knight, though, where am I going to go? He can put his knight in on d3, like whatever I do. Okay, we're going to do this. And I think play maybe rook d5 after this. Yeah, let's go rook d5. Attacking the bishop. I'm still thinking about queen g4. I think it's nice to block this diagonal, too. It's convenient. Bishop e7, maybe? I also might go f6, too, as an attacking gesture. We're still only down to 1 pawn, but he has like a 3-to-1 majority. I mean, if we get to any sort of endgame, he's like completely happy if he gets to keep all these pawns. Because I'm going to have to deal with a passed pawn real quick. Okay, plays queen c6. So if queen g4 again, f6 is just taking care of business for him, I think. Bishop takes g7. Could that ever work? Probably not in the current scenario. Queen g4, f6. I need to attack g7, but I can't get there with anything further. How to keep the heat. Could play queen d2. It doesn't threaten much, though. All right, I'm going to play it, though. Like one idea being f6, and then if h6, the immediate queen into h6. Comes and attacks that, yeah. He's going to try to put his bishop on f8, I think, now. This is what he'll do. Looking for something to keep the initiative going. It's not presenting itself. Queen here, bishop f8. He's attacking the e4 pawn in the meantime. I'm not sure. All right, let's hide our king. Wait, is that even a good move? All right, I got to do something, so I'm going to do this. That is the chosen move. All right, let's just do f6. Can maybe play c3. Does not. Okay, so I want to play my queen into h6 pretty bad. If bishop f8, maybe I can go bishop h6. And then if he trades, I take with a rook. Queen takes e4, we trade, and I have rook d8 at the end. Okay, so at least there's that. Okay, he's making luft for his king. It's a smart idea. Let's open it up. Maybe h4, h5? New way to attack his king. He still probably wants to play bishop f8, but he's at 21 seconds now. I guess we're going with h4, h5. Wow, okay, now I can go check. Push this d pawn. I'm really surprised he did that.
Check.
Okay.
Time warning.
You can come here. Let's just take this. Simple. Keep it simple. go here.
Check.
He's going to check us around a little bit with his rook. Let's open up his king in the meantime.
Check.
Come here. Yeah, I think we're gonna get him on the clock. Okay, so we won on time. Not the most well executed attack, I'd say, but there might not have been an attack to begin with. I have a feeling Black's position is solid enough to withstand it right around here. Let's go back and have a look. This whole variation is pretty speculative, but I have faced it like quite a bit actually from the Black side, this G3 line. I think the crucial line is just E4 right away in this position, but I only remembered knight D2 because there was a game I played, or several games actually, against this guy. I think his name is Maverick1. He's a GM here on ICC, and he plays this against me in Bullet. And I would always play bishop b7 and blunder knight takes b5 with the pin on the bishop on b7. So I was hoping to get my opponent to do the same thing. But yeah, objectively, I'm sure e4 is the better move. So knight d2, he played queen b6, e3, and here, and then b3. I wonder if taking with a pawn is better than taking with the knight, because you notice how my knight on b3 never really had much to do there. It could never really hope to get into c5 or a5. That was a little far-fetched, so it was more or less just a spectator. So it's possible taking with a pawn is better. I mean, ideally, you'd like put the pawn on b4 and restrict your opponent from playing c5 or a5, although that is hard to achieve as well. But I took with the knight. I think maybe he played c5 a little too quickly. I see the computer likes that, but I mean, if I were Black, I'd probably first try to complete my kingside development, like bishop e7, castle, maybe a6 if I felt it was necessary. But this guy showed no fear, c5 right away. And then we played to open the center. I felt like this was my only decent reaction to c5. Knight f6 maybe wasn't so good. I thought he would just develop. Like, is there anything wrong with bishop here? I guess I have bishop takes f7 maybe.
Check.
That might not even be good. Whoops. That might not even be good. Yeah, even this is good for Black, probably because of my atrocious light squares. He can castle by hand, and he's got this raking bishop just bearing down on my king. So knight f6, and we traded. I played bishop b2, rook d8, queen e2. Later I speculated maybe queen c2 is better just to also attack the c5 pawn. But queen e2, knight e4, I went rook ad1. The computer likes rook fd1 a little bit better. Maybe they're similar though. Knight g5, and here queen d3 is very strong. Not a move I considered. So that allows the king a flight square to e2. So like
Check.
knight h3 is not going to kill us anymore. And we're threatening queen d8 mate, so he doesn't really have time
Check.
to like go for very much. Wow, so in fact, if we get this position, white is just winning according to the computer. Bishop e7, knight a5, trying to deflect the queen away from guarding this square. So if like queen c7, bishop takes g7, and Black is very much in trouble. I wouldn't look at this position and predict it would be plus 12, but I guess Black's situation is that dire. Okay, so queen d3, an unexpected counterattacking move, not even fearing a knight coming into like h3 or f3 is the way to go. I played e4 though, trying to block the diagonal. I also felt this was pretty good. But he put the knight on e6. This is a good square because it helps defend g7, so he wants to free up the bishop. And f4, that might have been a overreaching move. Better to play knight a5. That's poetic. Earlier I was saying how my knight like never did anything, but the decisive move would have been knight a5. So attacking the queen and trying to force it to part ways with the b pawn. So if queen here, again this queen d3 move, threatening to come into d7. Okay. Knight d4, knight comes back to b3, insisting that this knight will be removed. Okay, yeah. f6, knight takes d4, pawn takes d4, bishop takes d4. Huge advantage to white, probably decisive. Yeah, that's very much due to Black's king problems and his backward development. So f4, I was trying to dislodge that knight, but looks like he played pretty well in defense from here. Knight takes c5,
Check.
bishop takes c5. King f1 is better, maybe, to stay out of the pin. Why would that be? So if king f1 castles, now bishop takes g7 is possible. And if king takes, queen g4,
Check.
king h8, let's say, and then f6 forced mate. Ooh, that's pretty. Because if rook g8, there's rook d8, deflecting the rook. And yeah, if he takes my rook, there's queen g7 mate. And if he plays like this, we can just take on f8, and queen g7 mate is unstoppable. Wow. So on king g2, he castles. I can't do the same thing? Or maybe I can. If takes, queen g4,
Check.
yeah. It wouldn't affect it. This also works, even with the king on the diagonal. Rook g8, rook d8. That's a common tactical pattern, actually. I guess in this case, he does
Check.
have queen takes e4, whereas on f1, queen takes e4 would not be coming with check, so it wouldn't help him. So here he can do this and try to fight on. Yeah, I paused for a while at this stage. How much time did I use right after he castled? So I have 228. Oh no, I played rook d5 pretty quickly. Okay. But I think on the next move, maybe? Yeah. I used almost a full minute on the next move. Trying to figure out how in the world to keep this attack going. But it actually looks like the chance might have passed me by already. Bishop takes g7 was the move. And if he takes f6...
Check.
Or sorry, queen g4, actually.
Check.
That was the move. And if king h8, then f6, threatening queen g7 mate. If king f6, queen h4.
Check.
And his king is on the loose. If king e5, I bet at the very least rook d5. There might even be something better. King f3. Just defend the e4 pawn. And that's also +8 for some reason. Yeah, I wish I would have looked at bishop takes g7 a little closer. I mean, I kind of played rook d5 like instinctively to give the rook something to do and attack the bishop and also stop his queen from eyeing the e4 pawn. But this is a pretty concrete position, so it doesn't surprise me that there's something better. So after bishop takes g7, the best move is rook e8, attacking this. And then bishop h6, trying to go here and here. And you can defend laterally by playing f6, so the queen monitors the g7 square. Queen
Check.
g4, king h8, rook d5 with rough equality. It's like dynamically balanced. I guess I did win the pawn back by taking on g7, but his queenside majority gives him certain counterplay in the long run. Bishop f8, and the computer thinks it's dead equal, and that black can defend. Huh. Yeah. It's amazing how often in chess, like, you'll analyze some complicated line that you were very unsure about if you were playing it in the game, and then you fire up the computer, and it's just, like, dead equal. It just shows 0.00. I mean, it kind of goes back to chess being a draw, I guess. I mean, I don't know too many strong players who think otherwise, but a perfectly played game of chess will end in a draw. And a lot of times in tactical complications that are produced from balanced play throughout, you'll find that that's the result. Not that this was balanced play all the way, but you know what I mean. So, rook d5, queen c6, queen d2. Yeah, it just looks like after this I'm worse. No wonder I couldn't find anything. So I can still try this move, huh? Take, king takes, queen g4,
Check.
king h8, f6. It doesn't work as well, though, because he has queen takes f6. Okay, and I win c5, but I'm still down a pawn with a questionable king position, although his king is open too. So this might be my best way of playing it, but not nearly as good as the other line with bishop takes g7 a move earlier when his queen was back here. So queen d2, and yeah, I mean, the rest of this was just a time scramble. It was... I knew I must have been lost, but we both have 30, 45 seconds or something, and I was just hoping to create enough issues for him that he, like, panics and does something like what he did. Queen takes d5, totally unnecessary move. Yeah, I mean, okay, h5 is kind of a threat, but he could at least play a move like, well, I guess queen e6 loses this bishop. So it may not be as easy to defend as he'd like here, but okay, the engine finds something like immediately. Give up the rook for the bishop and then play c2. That's a scary thing to do, though, in time pressure. He's probably not going to play that way. So he did this, and then
Check.
this happens. I don't
Check.
win immediately because he has counterplay with the c-pawn. In fact, the computer thinks it's a draw. But I do have this ability to play h5 and open up his king whenever.
Check.
But it was just a mouse-moving battle. Interesting tactics in this one. I don't think I'll repeat this variation with knight d2. I might play this g3 line again, but my conclusion from this game is like knight d2 is probably not that good. and probably e4 is the way to go if you want to play this line. So look for me exploring that line in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be back tomorrow with another Blitz game. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.